Hello, hello. What is going on? I'm not sure what day we'll be watching this yet, but hopefully you're doing your study guide. Maybe that's already done. If you have already done it, then you'll be familiar at least with some of the most difficult words in this article we'll be reading about Cambodia, Pol Pot. You probably know a little bit about him. We watched a mini documentary on him. He's like the Hitler or the Stalin of this genocide that took place it ended, sort of ended, the worst of it ended right around the time I was born. So anybody my age or younger and living in Cambodia probably wouldn't remember this. And if they were lucky to survive, remember 25% about somewhere around there of the population of Cambodia was killed. So if they were lucky enough to survive and they're like older than me, maybe in their late 50s, because they would have been about 10 or so, they might remember this. So we'll break this up into like three sections just because this can be kind of heavy reading. When we look at the article, I can pull that up right now. It's at grade 9 level. So a little bit advanced, but you'll all be ninth graders here pretty soon. And we can see the title of this is a short history of the Khmer, you might hear it said, or Khmer Rouge. We'll find out that that's French in Cambodia. So Khmer Rouge or Khmer Rouge. And there's a picture, obviously, of all the victims, you would think. And then this man is blurred for some reason. And we'll read the caption here. A tourist views photos of former Khmer Rouge prisoners at the Toy Sang Genocide Museum. I probably didn't pronounce that right. Formerly the regime's notorious S-21 prison in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. So that S-21, if you remember, that was actually in the documentary we watched. It flashed by. I mean, the infographic shows I think are great. They give a lot of information, though, in a short period of time. But that prison was a former school turned into like pretty much a torture chamber. If you remember the numbers, I think 18,000 people went through there, and there were like 23 survivors. Like it was a horrible place. We're not going to get into the graphic stuff that went on in there. I'm sure you could find that out if you really want to, but we're going to skip that part. And under the command of another word, another name I'll probably mess up pretty bad. I almost wanted to say butcher, but since we're talking about genocide, I'm not going to. I probably messed this up. Kangai Eve, better known as Dooch, who headed the prison. Up to 16,000 people were tortured and later taken away to be killed during the Khmer Rouge's 1975 to 1979 rule. All right, so this says 16,000. Documentary said 18,000. So either way, lots of people. The Khmer Rouge was a radical communist movement. Okay, that's going to be big. Probably can highlight that. So this is talking about communism here. Movement that ruled Cambodia from 1975 to 1979 after winning power through a guerrilla war. French for Red Khmer. Okay, well, what's Khmer? It was said to have been set up in 1967 as the armed wing of the Communist Party of Kampuchea. Kampuchea is what Cambodia was called during this time, Kampuchea. Let's talk about for a second, might be important, red. So Khmer, Khmer, that's like the adjective of Cambodia. So anything from the United States, people, whatever, American, Cambodia, you could call it Cambodian, you could, or Khmer, Khmer. Okay. So red, if you don't know, that is really connected to the Communist Party. So if you hear about like red China, that would be communist China. If you look at the flag of the Soviet Union, it's all red with a hammer and a sickle. You've probably seen that. I mean, China's flag is red today. So red is often connected with the Communist Party. All right, bring this back up, maybe one more paragraph, and then we'll call it a day. We'll keep it short. Cambodia's communist movement originated in the Khmer People's Revolutionary Party, which was an extreme left-wing group formed in 1951 with the guidance of the Viet Minh of Vietnam. Now, Vietnam is going to play a factor in this. If you remember the map of Cambodia, there are 3 countries that I kind of think of in that region. You have Laos, you have Cambodia, you have Vietnam. Thailand is in that area as well. If I was a really good teacher, I would have done this already. I would have had a map of Cambodia. I mean, I think we've looked at it before, but not Camden, Maine, but Cambodia. Yeah, not too bad, I think. We can get it. Yeah, let me share that screen instead, just to give you an idea. What's the best one? This one would be good. Burma. All right. This is, I mean, if you're colorblind, it's not the best map. Why didn't that come up? All right. Hang on. Bear with me, please. That's why it would have been a little better, if I had this already. I didn't think that we would talk about this, but last thing for today in this, you got a map of Cambodia. Cambodia is right down there. Right down there. So you got Vietnam over here. You have Laos. You have Thailand. You have Burma. Sometimes you'll hear that called Myanmar, depending on the map you look at. And then, of course, China. And then the Vietnam War. There's a connection. If you remember the documentary we watched, the United States. Okay, hang on. First, it was France. That was in this area. And then France was being pushed out. So the United States gets involved. The United States at the time in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, the United States is over there trying to make sure that Vietnam doesn't turn communist. The idea was, there's this domino theory, if you've ever played a game of dominoes, okay, or you've ever seen dominoes falling. What the United States worried about at this time was that if some country, let's say Vietnam, turned communist, the rest of the countries around there, Laos, Cambodia, they would fall. They would fall to communism. So that's why it was so important for the United States. They felt that they had to be there to ensure that it didn't get taken over. And guess what? China is right there, right above. I can't help but say China. China is right above. They're making sure that it does go the way of communism, and it will. And it's actually, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but it will actually be Vietnam that really helps bring the killing fields, the genocide in Cambodia to an end. All right, enough for today.